Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to Pajama Prayers. It's so good to have you with me tonight. I appreciate that you take a little bit of time on Saturday to spend some time with me and watch Pajama Prayers. I look forward to it so much. Thank you for being here. We've got a great show for tonight, and I'm so glad you're watching. We're going to get our show started tonight with a game of hidden pictures. We've been playing it for a good while now, so you should know exactly how to play, and you're probably getting very good at it. Are you ready? Good luck to you. Here we go.
Can you find what's hidden in this picture? Can you find the baby's bottle? Do you see the broccoli? Where is the snowman? What about a nail? Can you find a ruler? Can you find a crayon? Do you see a fork? What about a ghost? Can you find the paperclip? Do you see a bow? Can you find a mitten? Do you see a wishbone? Can you find a necklace? Do you see an artist's brush? Can you find the horseshoe? Can you find a book? Now find the slice of bread. Can you find a baseball bat? Great job!
How'd you do, boys and girls? Those little otters were just so cute, weren't they? I especially liked that little one that was standing on the bank, like he was afraid to go into the water. Did you see him? I found most of the objects pretty easy though, except for the nail. I had a little bit of trouble with the nail. Anyway, I hope you had a good time and enjoyed the game. It's time for our story now. Our story tonight is a great story. You're gonna love it. The name of the story is Squirrel's Secret. And it's all about being a good listener. So let's start by being a good listener to the story. Here we go. Squirrel's Secret by Susie Lynn. Squirrel was excited. She hopped and skipped and twitched her bushy tail with excitement. She had a secret. And she had to share it with someone. The very first someone she saw was Rabbit. Rabbit was busy looking for the greenest, tastiest patches of grass. So she took a quick look at Squirrel and carried on with her search. Squirrel lowered her voice and whispered, "Don't tell anyone, but I'm having a big party with yummy food and funny hats." "Oh, really?" mumbled Rabbit, who was far more interested in her delicious grass. She wasn't listening properly to Squirrel at all. So when Rabbit spotted her friend Mole, who was busy digging, she had some rather strange news. In hushed tones, Rabbit whispered in Mole's velvety ear, "Don't tell anyone, but Squirrel's having a party. And she's inviting lots of stray cats." I see," muttered Mole, as he inspected his newly dug hole. He wasn't paying much attention to Rabbit. Later, Mole spied his friend Fox basking in the sun and decided to tell him the news. He scampered over and said, "Don't tell anyone, but Squirrel's having a picnic, and she's making pies for all the rats." "Whatever," snored Fox lazily. He was far more interested in catching the last rays of sunshine and only half heard Mole's news. As day turned to dusk, Fox saw his friend Owl perching in an oak tree and waiting for the moon to appear. "Well, I may as well tell him the news," thought Fox, who was more awake by now. So he walked over to Owl and quietly called up to him, "Don't tell anyone, but Squirrel's having a picnic, and she's going to wear fancy pants." "Well, there's a thing," hooted Owl, paying more attention to the moon than to what Fox was saying. Later, as dawn was breaking, Owl spotted his friend Deer. He was busy picking his way gracefully through the undergrowth, looking for tasty berries. "Come here, Deer," called Owl softly, and as Deer half turned to him, he lowered his voice and said, "Don't tell anyone, but Squirrel has a pink stick to tap with when she learns to dance." Deer stopped for a second and looked up in surprise. Then he turned back to a particularly juicy crop of blackberries. He hadn't quite caught everything that Owl had said. That afternoon, Deer bumped into his friend Mouse, who was scurrying around in the leaves. He was very busy eating the berries that Deer had dropped. "Owl told me the strangest thing," Deer murmured. "Don't tell anyone, but Squirrel's wearing lipstick, and she's gone to eat with all her aunts." Mouse was very hungry indeed, and he certainly wasn't in the mood for paying much attention to the woodland chit-chat. But when Mouse heard his friend Woodpecker rat-a-tat-tatting on an old oak tree, he thought he had better pass on the news. "If you can spare a minute," he shouted to make himself heard above Woodpecker's noise. Woodpecker looked down, and Mouse continued at the top of his little voice. "Don't tell anyone, but Squirrel's buying a boat ticket to sail the sea to sunny France." But Woodpecker hadn't entirely stopped rat-a-tat-tatting, so the message he thought he heard was quite different. "What? Really? Squirrel's won a prize? A lucky chance?" asked Woodpecker loudly. Well, Squirrel had been busy minding her own business, but when she heard Woodpecker's news, she jumped up. "Stop! Listen! You've got it wrong!" she called in frustration. At that, all the creatures stopped what they were doing and looked up. "It's not true!" cried Squirrel. "What, you haven't won a lucky chance?" asked Woodpecker. "No, I'm afraid not," replied Squirrel. "But you are sailing to sunny France, aren't you?" inquired Mouse. "No, not ever," Squirrel declared. "What about wearing lipstick and going to eat with your aunts?" tried Deer. "Absolutely not," cried Squirrel. "So no dancing with a pink stick then?" hesitated Owl. "Oh my goodness, no," sighed Squirrel impatiently. "Do you even have any fancy pants?" asked Fox nervously. "No," Squirrel spluttered. "And baking pies for rats isn't your thing?" muttered Mole. "Not in a million years," wailed Squirrel. "And you're not having a party with stray cats?" Rabbit whispered. "No, no, no," Squirrel groaned. "But what is happening is that I'm having a big party with yummy food and funny hats, and you're all invited." The next day, everyone gathered in the woodland clearing for Squirrel's big party. And they all wore funny hats and had the best time ever. The end.
How about all those friends of Squirrel that didn't pay attention to what was being said? Man, they sure were missing out on the message, weren't they? Have you ever been telling someone something and knew that they were not paying attention to anything you said? How does that make you feel? Kind of makes you feel unimportant, doesn't it? That's rude and bad manners. We shouldn't be that way. The Bible talks about being good listeners. The book of James, chapter 1 and verse 19, the Bible says we should be quick to listen and slow to speak. Isn't that amazing? Even the Bible tells us how important it is to be a good listener. We're all out of time for tonight, boys and girls, but I do hope this week you will remember the story about Squirrel's surprise, and you will be a very good listener when Mommy or Daddy is talking or when one of your friends is talking. Make sure you're paying close attention. Turn to someone there with you and say,
"You are worth more than you know, capable of more than you think, and loved more than you can imagine." Good night.